Hi there and welcome back to the Theory Crafted YouTube channel, where we talk about theories for Marvel and theories for a bunch of other movies. So today we are doing something a bit different. So seeing as how, Avengers Doomsday is coming up rather soon, I thought we should, go over a timeline so we can understand what's going on in this multiverse that Marvel is going on with, that they're going to connect to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So here I have created a PowerPoint of the timeline of Marvel and everything that happens whenever they crisscross and all this kind of stuff. So this is all everything we know so far. The last couple slides are of speculation and what I think will happen during Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, there will be more going on, but this is all just, my speculation and me guessing what's going to happen and stuff. Okay, let's get started. So this is the MCU. And we start off with the Sacred Timeline. Now, if you've ever seen the Loki TV show, then you would know that the Sacred Timeline is the ultimate timeline in the universe. This timeline is the only universe that ever exists. From beginning to end, there's nothing. Only this timeline. And yeah, there's only this timeline, nothing else. The TVA, which is a group of people that help trim the Sacred Timeline to keep it just one timeline. It can't branch off. If anybody does something they're not supposed to do, the Sacred Timeline creates a little branch, like a tree. And the TVA is the group of people that help trim that tree and keep only the Sacred Timeline, because they are trying to prevent a multiversal war happening. Because if there's too many timelines, then there's a very high chance that one could crash into another, and then that one would crash into another, and another, causing a whole cascade of events, creating a multiversal war, which is why they trim the branches to only have one timeline, so that there will be no multiversal war. So yeah, here is the Sacred Timeline. Next, we have the Avengers time travel. So in Avengers Endgame, this is a big spoiler alert, just so you know, for this whole entire video. This is all spoilers on Marvel. The Avengers time travel from Avengers Endgame with Captain America and, Iron Man and all those people, they all time travel to the past to gather all the Infinity Stones and all that stuff. Naturally, I'm not going to add all that because that would take way too long to make, but I'm going to cut out a lot of timelines in this video because, there's so many timelines. I'm only keeping the essential ones to understanding Avengers Doomsday. So, this is Captain America time traveling to the past. So, Captain America goes back in time to return all the stones and be with his wife Peggy. So whenever he does that, Loki, he gets a hold of the Tesseract, and which is wrong. It's caused a branch in the timeline. But whenever he grabbed the Tesseract, it caused him to go into. It caused him to, create a branch in the timeline, and he had to be taken by the TVA. So Loki, after he grabs the cube, causes a branch, the TVA naturally have to grab him and then reset the timeline to, trim it, basically. And so they take Loki, they take him outside of time and space, outside of the universe, and they take him to the TVA. So I did not include this, but the TVA is a place outside of time and space where they monitor and control the Sacred Timeline. So, after a cascade of events in the TV series Loki, which is essential to understanding Avengers Doomsday, which you should definitely watch if you haven't already, Loki exits out of time and space. He solves a bunch of problems and becomes the god of the multiverse. And in doing so, he creates what's called the time tree. Now, the time tree, as I have in the upper right-hand corner, the time tree is a zoomed out image of what is currently on the board, the sacred timeline. It's a zoomed out image of the timeline branching off and creating all these other multiverses. Because Loki has solved that problem and has solved the problem of there being a multiversal war, and now allows the timeline to branch off however it wants and letting people have their own free will. So after the time tree is created, we learn about He Who Remains, who is keeping the multiverse from collapsing and all this stuff. So Loki has to kill him and then take his spot as He Who Remains and monitor the multiverse at the very end of time. He stands at the end of time, monitoring all this. So now that Loki has allowed multiverses to branch off, it creates a bunch of other timelines. So including the Fox timeline, aka the X-Men timeline, from the early 2000s X-Men TV show. X-Men movies with Patrick Stewart as Professor X, with Logan played by Hugh Jackman, all those characters. This is that universe. It's allowed to exist because Loki allows it to exist, from allowing there to be branched off timelines. So yeah, that's the X-Men universe, which it's called the Fox timeline because the Fox movies and all that stuff, but people call it the X-Men timeline. So in the X-Men movies, as it goes on, it reaches the point where the whole multiverse, their universe is collapsing because Bolivar Trask is using the Sentinels to kill all mutants, and the X-Men are trying to solve it by going into the past and stopping him from ever creating him. So they send Wolverine through time to fix that problem, but fixing that problem causes their universe to end. It stops abruptly, which causes and what Wolverine did in the past, it created a new branch, which is called the X-Men Altered Timeline, which is what I call it. The X-Men Altered Timeline is the current X-Men timeline we see in the X-Men movies, if any X-Men movies that are being made today. Like the Deadpool movies, they are all in the Altered X-Men timeline. The Wolverine movies, they're all in the X-Men timeline. The X-Men First Class, not X-Men First Class, X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Days of Future Past, they're all in this timeline. This is where the Days of Future Past ended the original Fox timeline, and then every X-Men movie made from then forth is in the X-Men Altered Timeline. Then this is where everything gets messy. So everything jumps all around. It gets really, really, really confusing. So to fix all of this, I have decided to really, focus on. I decided to cut out a lot of stuff because the Deadpool movies make it way too crazy. So I've decided to cut out the non-essential parts and just add in the important stuff. So to start off, I've turned everything gray so you can, whatever is in color is what you need to focus on. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner, you see a blue little line. So that is Cable from Deadpool 2. Deadpool 1 has no significance with, time traveling and all that, or multiverse traveling and all that stuff. It sets up Deadpool 2, but it doesn't have anything to do with multiverse travel. So in Deadpool 2, Cable travels back in time to stop a kid a mutant who has fire powers from killing his family and destroying their universe. So he travels back in time to stop him. Then Deadpool saves the kid in some way, and then all this stuff. He steals the time machine from Cable, which caused this whole cascade of events. So after Cable time travels back to the past, Deadpool steals his time machine, and then if you look here where the blue line ends at the very tip of it, and then whatever it points to, the red. Then if you look at the red arrows, follow the red arrows. They go up Deadpool exits out of his universe, goes all the way over to the Fox timeline, and well, he kills his evil version of himself in that universe. He kills him, which is in X-Men Origins, which is in X-Men Origins. That Deadpool. It obviously doesn't show it in the X-Men movie, but it does in the Deadpool. It shows it in the Deadpool 2 movie. So after that, he heads. If you follow the arrows, it goes back to the X-Men altered timeline, the pink line, the one that he was in the first place, the one that I was telling you about, where all the X-Men movies are currently on. He saves his wife from being stabbed, with a knife, like it does, which he stops which happens in the Deadpool 2 movie, but he goes back in time and stops it. So his wife is alive. And then if you look at the very tip of the red arrow, which is pointing towards the pink timeline, you see a black line, which is now purple. There's a very thin purple line, which is pointing towards an altered version of our timeline. So this universe right here, it is our universe, where we exist and all that stuff. Deadpool goes there and kills Ryan Reynolds and stops him before he becomes Green Lantern in the DC movie. It's not really essential, but I wanted to add it in because it's kind of funny. Because he really hated the role of Green Lantern, so he traveled to his universe and killed Ryan Reynolds from playing the role, which is kind of funny. So then if you look, there's a black line pointing out from the very thin purple line, which is green. So the green line, you see it points towards the sacred timeline, the where the Avengers are, and Iron Man, and all those people. That's where that timeline is. So he heads over to that timeline, and he tries to join the Avengers, but fails. So eventually he goes back to his timeline, but his timeline doesn't exist anymore because he's changed so much stuff in the past. So it's branched off and become a brand new timeline where all of the things he's done, it's caused a brand new timeline, which it's basically his paradise, because his wife is alive in that timeline, all of his friends who had died in previous movies are alive in that timeline, which is pinkish purple down in the bottom right-hand corner. And yeah, if you follow the green arrows, it points to that. So at the very end of the last green arrow on the right-hand side, pointing towards the pinkish purple timeline, you see there's a black line right next to it, which is the color is gold. So this right here is the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So the Deadpool and Wolverine movie has so much more timelines that I care to explain because they're not essential. Basically, it's just Deadpool jumping around trying to find a Wolverine. Then he finds the real one, and then he exits time and space, goes to the TVA if you follow the gold line, and then he gets the Wolverine, heads to the gold line. If you follow the gold line, it heads to the TVA. And then you see that Deadpool and Wolverine are sent to the Void. That's where the green line pointing off from the TVA goes. It points all the way to the Void, where all these events happen and stuff. And yeah, that's what happens there. And then they return back to the universe that Deadpool has made, and Wolverine stays there. And he is alive in that universe. So yeah. So okay, and then that was the Deadpool movies. Now this is the Fantastic Four movie. So if you look at the orange line, it's another timeline. This is the Fantastic Four timeline, the one we see, the one that came out recently, Fantastic Four: First Steps, with Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby and all those other actors. So this is a Fantastic Four timeline. Everything they did, yada yada. So then, if you look at the red line, the arrow that points at it says, Fantastic Four ship travels to Sacred Timeline. So if you watch the Thunderbolts, there's an in-credit scene where the Fantastic Four ship, you see the Fantastic Four ship coming down to Earth from space. We don't know anything about this. People think it's Loki that sent them there. We don't know anything. It could be. But all we know is that the Fantastic Four ship travels from the Fantastic Four universe over to our universe. Okay, so that was everything we know so far. I cut off all the other Axis timeline skipping stuff. These are just the timelines. I cut out all of the people jumping from universe and all that stuff. This is just the timelines that are currently alive. There are obviously thousands of others, but these are just the essential ones that we know of so far. So everything from this point forward, which is just 2 more slides, these are just speculation on what we think is going to happen in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So if you look over here, this is what I think is going to happen. All these timelines, they've branched off. Doctor Doom grabs them and fuses them together to become Battleworld. Now, Battleworld is not a timeline. It's not a universe. It's not anything. It's the timelines all fused together to create one world. It's called Battleworld. Time does not exist there. So there's no time traveling to the future, no time traveling to the past, because time does not happen there. Whatever happens, and you can't go to the past to change it, and you can't go to the future, because the future of that has not been written yet. So some of you may be asking, well, how come Loki hasn't picked up on this? Because, he sees everything that happens, and that will happen. Well, Loki can only see to a current extent, because time is still being written. But Loki is currently picking up on what's going on. As time is being written, he's starting to see Battleworld happen in the future. So he's trying to stop it by, calling the Avengers together, or whatever happens in the movie. Remember, this is all speculation. We don't know for certain. So this is Battleworld. No time does not happen there. Whatever happens. You can't change it. Can't go to the past. Can't go to the future. Then this is what we don't know how. We don't know why. But all we know is that the MCU is going to get a reset. So what that means is that all the movies, everything that's happened so far, it's all going to be erased, as if they never happened. The timeline, every single timeline in existence is going to fuse together to become the combined timeline. I made little stitching to make it look like they're all stitched together, which is what's going to happen. They're all going to become one. The X-Men, the Avengers, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, all of them, they're going to become in the one same universe. This will become the new sacred timeline. So, whatever happens in Secret Wars, we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is that it's going to end with the universes being combined. So, Kevin Feige said himself that the reboot is essential because they want to combine the X-Men universe with the Avengers universe and with the Fantastic Four universe. They are going to be changing some stuff in this new universe. Some stuff. Not everything's going to change. We know that a lot of acting is going to be recast. Iron Man is probably going to be recast. Sadly, Robert Downey Jr. is. I really hate that, but it needs to happen. Captain America is going to be recast. A bunch of different characters. So, yes, this is the MCU timeline. This is everything we know so far and what we speculate so far. This took me a very, very long time to make, a couple months, because I had to go do a lot of research for this. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here, please, please, please like and subscribe, because I really like to do stuff like this, and I'm planning on doing more of it in the upcoming future as these Marvel movies release and we learn more about the timelines and all this stuff. Thank you for watching. This is Theory Crafted, and goodbye.